Hi, I'm Tony. Welcome to Sew Lounge. Today I'm going to teach you how to do hand sewing to tack a facing to your skirt. Now, if you don't know what a facing is, it's this extra piece of fabric that you put around the waistline of a garment when it's a skirt instead of a waistband. Now, facings are also used in sleeveless tops, necklines without collars, so this isn't the only time you're going to see a facing, but it's the one we're working with today. So the goal is to tack the facing down to specific parts of the skirt to hold it in place. If you don't do this, as you wear and wash your garment, the facing is going to start rolling up to the top, and then it won't look as nice on the top seam because it'll start rolling up like this. We don't want that to happen. So the instructions for sewing this say to tack the facing to the center back zipper, to the dart, and to the side seam. So we're going to go around the skirt, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. Before we get started, you're going to need some supplies. So first off, you're going to need sewing needle, hand sewing needle. I like a little bit longer one because they're easier to hold on to and my hand won't cramp. So you might want to consider a longer one too. You're going to need some thread snips and a thimble. Now, if you don't know how to use a thimble, head on over to the how to use a thimble video and check it out, and then come back here. You don't have to use a thimble in this type of hand sewing. It's not heavy duty, and you could probably get by without one. But the more you practice using a thimble, it's going to become second nature. So if you do it with everything, even though it's a little bit hard, you might struggle for a little while. Once you get used to it, it's so much better, and it will make your hand sewing a lot faster. Now, when you're going to thread your needle, we are going to take the thread spool, and I'm going to hold it in my right hand and pull the thread tail up to my shoulder. So that's the length of thread I want for hand sewing. I was taught this tip by a tailor that I interned with over the summer back in college, who said that that's kind of the longest amount of thread you want, because that way it's not going to start knotting up, and if you need more, you can always cut more. So thread that needle through the eye, and then I'm going to pull my thread through. Another tip from a friend of mine was to just pull down on your thread and just get some of those hand oils onto it. That's going to help smooth out your thread a little bit and make it go through. And then we're just doing a single thread through this, even though it's kind of folded in half. We're only going to sew a single thread, not double. And so just tie a knot in the end. However you want to do that. Now let's go in for a closer look. This is a close-up of the facing, so you can see what I'm talking about. From the outside, it is just a nice, crisp edge that's just going to go around the waistline of the skirt, and it's just smooth. And then on the inside, it's a flat piece of fabric, and we are going to be tacking it down to the center back zipper, to all the darts, and also the side seam. So there's a dart on each side of the back, and then there are 2 darts in the front. Before we start doing any sewing, I like to add some pins so it holds everything in place and nothing moves while I'm doing any hand sewing. I tack the zipper and the side seams first, and then I go back and do the front darts just so that holds the whole front part of the skirt in place. And the purpose of doing this is to just hold it so that as we're hand sewing, nothing gets moved or bunched up somewhere, and it stays like really nice and flat. That's the kind of the worst thing, is when you've just finished doing a bunch of hand sewing on one side of the skirt and realize that it's in the wrong place and you have to redo it. So now that everything's pinned, we are going to go sit by the sewing machine, and I am going to show you how to tack this all down. I'm seated over by the sewing machine so I can show y'all how to do this. I do not hand sew. I can't do it standing for some reason. To get started, we are going to take our thread and we're going to pass it through the zipper tape and then through the facing. And this is to just get it started. And you can come back and snip off that little tail later. And then we're just going to make some tiny stitches through the zipper tape and then through the very edge of the facing to hold it in place. I catch that. I get that out of the way. I'm going to take this pin out because I don't need it right now. And then I'm just going to continue up the side of the zipper tape in small increments. This little tail just keeps wanting to get caught. There we go. And the key is to not go through to the other side. So you're just catching the zipper tape and we're just tacking this in place. So this is tacking. This is the magic happening. And you just want to make little stitches. Ideally, I would be doing this in purple so it would not be noticeable, but it is very hard to see on this fabric, and this video would be much harder to watch if you couldn't see where I'm making the stitches. So as you can see, I've got the little stitches through here, and I'm just going to continue up the edge of my facing, tacking to my zipper. And I'm using the thimble to push the needle through, and then I grab the needle once it's on the other side. This is the part where it's very helpful to have a thimble because it's a little bit thick through the zipper tape and the facing, which is kind of folded over a little bit. So it's a little bit harder to push the needle through. You can do it without a thimble if you don't want to learn to use one, but let me tell you, it's just the way to go. It makes hand sewing so much easier, and it saves the side of your finger from being stabbed to death. So I'm just coming up to the top now, and I am just going to finish this off. One more stitch. Let's get it. One more stitch. There we go. And then I am just going to go through the edge of the fabric, go back through that loop to make a little knot, and then I'm going to go back and make a second knot because I want to make sure it's secure and not going to come out in the laundry. So I've got my two little knots in there. I'm going to snip off the end right above the knot. I'm going to come back over here and take that out. Just snip that off. So as you can see, it is just very small stitches holding it in place, and then no stitches from the other side. So we're going to move down next. Moving down the facing to the side seam, we are going to pass the needle through the back of the side seam that's folded over and into the facing. And then we're going to continue with the little tiny stitches again. And you just want to catch the side seam, the seam allowance. You don't want to go through to the front of the fabric. So just be careful and only catch that one layer. I'm going to hold it up so y'all can see it a little bit better. This does work, I swear. There we go. I'm going to push it through. And then I'm going to go down a little bit further and continue with the hand sewing. And this is just how you would tack a facing to a skirt. So we just keep doing little stitches. And making sure it doesn't go through. So you can always check the other side. You can feel the side of the facing and see there's no stitches showing up through here. So that's what we want. Go back to the other side, a few more quick stitches. And this tacking works for anything. So if you're using a facing on a neckline or on a sleeve, this is the same method you would use to do that. I'm just showing you today because I happen to have this skirt with a facing that needed to be hand sewn. So once you get to the end, same as before, we're just going to finish it off. I'm just going to catch a little thread, go back through the loop, make one knot, go back in and make a second knot. Ideally, you would use the same color thread because you will kind of see it. Y'all can see it because it's white, and that was kind of the point of it. But you would use a matching color so that it would blend and not be so noticeable. Of course, if you want to make it noticeable, totally fine. It's your garment, but it just looks really neat when you have matching thread. Like I was using purple and then it matches this edge finish and it looks really sharp. So now we're going to go back to the dart. So now we're at the dart, and this is between the where we've already sewn with the zipper and the side seam. So it's the back dart. And darts are pretty easy because you're just going to catch it just a tiny bit. So go under the front of the dart like we did with the side seam, and you want to just catch the thickness of the dart and then pull your needle up through the edge of the facing. And then you're just going to put a couple of little stitches in here. It does not have to be anything extreme. 3 stitches should do it. And that's just to hold it in place. We'll do 4 stitches. And that's it. So you're going to want to continue this around the skirt and do the other side seam and the other side of the center back facing next to the zipper, and then the other 3 darts. So now you know how to tack a facing to the inside of your skirt. Finish going all the way around and tack it to the other side seam, back seam, and darts, and you will be rewarded with a well-fitting facing that lies flat when you wear it and holds up in the wash. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to click like below and subscribe to my channel so you never miss a stitch. And if you've got questions but no one to answer them, head on over to Let's Talk Sewing for Beginners, hosted by So Lounge. It's an interactive Facebook group where you can ask all the questions you want and I will get you some answers. I go live in the group on Wednesdays, so check the schedule for the next event. Until we meet again, happy sewing!